This past weekend, I caught up with three different people who I haven't seen in a while. And as conversations go when you're an adult and you're catching up, they inevitably turn to work. And the common theme amongst all these people, despite each of them having different relationships with their jobs, was indifference. Not necessarily excited or ecstatic about what they're doing, but not necessarily dreading it either. Just sort of in the middle, okay. And there's a time and a place, right, when maybe there are other circumstances and you just need for your job to be okay. But apart from that, being okay is, from my perspective, one of the toughest places to be because you're not really growing, but at the same time, your situation also isn't, you know, threatening enough to compel you to change, to take action. So you just sort of sit there, stuck. And it's this feeling of stagnation that so many people are afflicted with at, especially, I guess, my age bucket, right? Like kind of early, mid 20s, but even beyond. And whenever the conversations turn to this point, because admittedly, I am that guy who will sort of poke and prod and probe because, just given my own experience, people aren't discussing these topics enough, aren't having these conversations, especially not amongst your peers, where everyone is sort of putting on this front that they enjoy their jobs because it's almost like this, I don't know, mark of shame if you don't enjoy what you're doing. You have to say, like, oh, you're excited about what you're learning, the team is great, or you feel like wow, that's a really loud helicopter. Back to what I was saying, it's like a mark of shame to not enjoy your job. You say you're learning, or you feel like you're getting the hang of it, or you can see the value of it, so on and so forth, right? And when it comes to what's next, it's some variation of an answer like, oh, I'll stay for another year or two and then I'll switch jobs and hopefully, right? That's the job that I enjoy, or, maybe I'll go back to school and hopefully then I'll figure out what it is I want to do. And when I hear this sort of answer, it breaks my heart because I've been there. I know what it feels like to not have a sense of direction and to merely just leave things up to fate or chance and hope that things turn out okay, to let the stream of life hopefully take you where you want to go, and not really having any agency or knowing if it's where you're meant to be. When I think about my own experience when I just started working in investment banking, and admittedly, I was already like, this is not it. I was looking to the future. I was thinking about working in growth equity or venture capital, which, if those terms are a little unfamiliar, it's basically another kind of subset of finance. And my logic there was that, what I genuinely enjoy and I love is talking and working with people. And in my mind, I had to sort of continue to pair finance slash business with working with people. Lo and behold, the intersection of that is venture capital, growth equity. But as I started to think about it more, it stopped making sense. Because as much as I could try and convince myself that my situation, my enjoyment, my fulfillment from my job would suddenly change, it really wouldn't. Because I'd still be doing essentially the same work, still crunching numbers and working on memos and presentations. And maybe I would be talking more to people, but in a business setting. And those aren't the settings, those aren't the conversations that I derive the most fulfillment from. As I've talked about in some of my previous videos, I get the most fulfillment when I'm with someone one-on-one. I'm seeking to understand them for who they are by hearing their story. By hearing their story and being able to form that understanding, that connection, I have the foundation, the platform, the opportunity to be able to empower them to believe and dream more, to maybe start and pursue that entrepreneurial path, not necessarily one they're already on. They just basically need a checkbook, someone to toss money at them, which could be any firm, really, right? But to serve that role that I'm talking about, to be this sort of mentor, guide, best friend, older brother-esque figure, there's only one person that can do that. And that's me. When I think about that experience, as is with so many people, when it comes to career and fulfillment, it's oftentimes us trying to fit ourselves into a career and not the other way around, not trying to fit a career into who we are in our life. Because when you try to fit yourself into a career, it's either not going to fit, or if you force it, it's always going to feel off. Which is exactly how I felt in my first job. Something felt off. It felt like there was more out there. Something different in store for me in my life that I couldn't quite pinpoint. But I just presumed that it'd be along the same path that I'd been on because I don't know about you, and I'm just illustrating something right now, but I don't know about you. So often in life and in school, at least from what I heard, was that the path that you're on will ultimately lead to fulfillment or the job that you are meant to do, as long as you keep iterating through, right? You know, the more jobs you take and the more experience you get, the more you start to build a better understanding of what you want to do, which I agree. There is some truth to that, given my own experience and my path forward. But at the same time, for most people, that's not the case, right? Because when I think about it, with that mindset, we're really stuck on one path, right? We convince ourselves that if we switch companies, if we switch to an adjacent role, or so on and so forth, that one day we'll land on this place called fulfillment, the job of our dreams. But if we keep going in that direction, and we keep asking ourselves, is this it? We keep getting stuck with a feeling that something is off. Eventually we settle. We settle and say, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe we're like most people, and we just sort of have to accept what's given to us and be grateful for what we have, and that there is nothing more, that those dreams we once had aren't attainable. But what if? What if where you're meant to be in life, the path you're meant to go on, the job, the career that you're meant to pursue is actually in a completely different direction, right? And hopefully this picks up, but that's so often the case, right? That maybe you're going left, but in reality, you need to go right. But that's scary to go right because you've been led to believe your entire life through school, through society, through parents, peers, so on and so forth, that you're supposed to be going left towards this traditional path, one that other people are taking, the safe path, the certain path, the one that you know how it ends. Because so many people before you have gone through it already. To take the step right towards the path less traveled, towards the path of uncertainty, is scary. It's daunting. It's uncertain. It's filled with potential pitfalls of ridicule and scorn from other people. And we don't want to feel that, right? But at the same time, would that all be worth enduring if it's the path you're meant to be on, as opposed to a lifetime of feeling off, just indifferent towards life? You just gave yourself that opportunity, that permission to try, right? The permission to just take a step in the other direction and see what happens and see how it feels, if it's right for you or not. And so often the case, people are afraid that if they do take a step in that direction, that it won't work out. And I'm not going to necessarily disagree there, but what I will say is that just by giving yourself the option that there is another path, instead of left you can go right, the fact that there is another option means that there's more possibility, there's more freedom, and that maybe where you think you're headed is merely just a step in the right direction, but not the destination itself. Because that's something you figure out along the way. But at the same time, the difference here being that it feels right in your heart. And that's kind of how I feel with my own path, my own experience, is that now that I'm pursuing this creative path, it feels right to me. I don't have a 5-year plan. People ask me, right? I can't exactly lay out sequential steps and when they're going to happen. What I do know is that this direction resonates with me, and that YouTube was just the first step. But in reality, it's more so this direction of self-expression and creativity that I'm pursuing. It's led me to start a newsletter, to do more writing, to dive a little bit and experiment with long form conversation and podcasting, as you've seen in some of my more recent videos. It all started by me giving myself the opportunity to take that step. Because ultimately what it boils down to is not necessarily what you want to do in life, but who you want to be. Because what you want to do is always changing, right? I could decide to stand up, sit down, go for a run, go eat, do whatever, right? it's all fleeting, it's all cursory, but who you are and who you want to be is much more grounded. It gives you a stronger sense of direction because it's not influenced by external factors like family, friends, school, peer society, right? Like we said, but solely internally by that voice deep inside that just as much is telling you something is off in the path that you're currently pursuing, will also tell you what feels right. And ultimately, what it boils down to is making the decision to be with yourself, to stop doing and all of the productivity, the hustle, and all that, and really just sit with yourself. Just be. And really question and mull over who it is you are, what you care about, your values, and just listen. Because I guarantee you, when you understand that for yourself, when you understand who you are, you have a North Star guiding you at that point. You know what you value, what you don't, what you'll accept and what you won't. You'll know how to fit a job, a career into your life, and not yourself into a career. Because that option, that path, only leads to a feeling of helplessness, of stagnation, of resignation, indifference, and constraint. The moment that you understand who you are, you give yourself permission to explore without constraint, without fitting yourself into something else, you find your way. That I guarantee. So, all to say, if you are currently struggling or feeling lost in your career or your current path in life, regardless if you're a working adult, but even if you're in school and you're pursuing a degree or a subject because you feel like you should, that it's practical or that you've seen other people do it and attain the societal definition of success, I urge and encourage you to just take a pause and really take some time to just be with yourself, your thoughts and feelings, and listen to where your heart is telling you to go. I guarantee they'll steer you in the right direction. So, with that, appreciate you for taking the time. If there's any other sort of questions around life, career, or anything, please let me know. Be happy to address them. But until next time, catch you later. Have a lovely rest of your day.